This is News in Depth with me, Efim Pandey. Tuberculosis is an old stubborn affliction that has ravaged mankind through the ages. TB, as it is generally known, can affect any part of the body, though the lungs are more susceptible. Unlike other germs, the bacterium that causes TB can live for years in dry, harsh conditions and survive to infect another person. That is why in today's edition of News in Depth, we look at the consumptive disease that consumes and wastes away the body.
This is a pneumonia or an infection of the lungs which is caused by a bacteria called Mycobacterium tuberculosis. This type of pneumonia actually presents with a productive cough which may last for about a period of 2 weeks or longer. It comes associated with weight loss, also with poor appetite. It's also associated with what we call drenching night sweats. So by drenching night sweats, one will notice that at night their clothes do get excessively wet in the night. And also it's associated with fever for a longer period, which may be 2 weeks or longer.
Appetite, na mwisho appetite. So siku yakutonderera kai umuntu ngalelwala. Uraba appetite. Yaisa poni aruba kutapine kutonderera.
Bati mutu bale matego y'obulimi.
Awa.
Nina mrefu kwa mfuafe kwa chifuba fye. Ilo nde mfuafe chifuba na ako kliniki kairi mbombera pene pa Matero First Level Hospital. Bambika pali erythromycin ichifuba tachilepo. Basambika pali chlorphenico tachilepo. So ndeko nganyapo fyo kukola. Until nasa mboku mfwa na fira balando ukupiba mu bushiku ngana ulala wa ambo okupiba obushiku. Na pali ino nshita ndeto tapiko ndi pali pamuti nangu pali ino nshita tefo nale moneka so nale tanga naenda limbi onfo kwa timwela ngatamwalendolesha ino chita nalivye kwena omuntu wakwe bati hawe ndimbino okushika nga balishika.
In Zambia, probably we report about 50,000 cases per year. I think 48 to 50,000 cases per year of TB. That includes both in children and in adults, though the large percentage of that is adult. And like I mentioned also, it's mainly pulmonary tuberculosis. If TB occurs in other organs, it's referred to as extrapulmonary tuberculosis. This can include infecting the meninges in the brain or in the skull, when we call it TB meningitis. It can include affecting organs like the heart, the abdomen generally. Literally every body organ can be affected.
The problem of TB in Zambia is quite big. According to the 2016 World Health Organization report on TB, Zambia was listed as among the 30 highest burden countries. In fact, it is among the top 10 highest burden countries in the world. And, most of the countries that have the highest burden of TB have also a high HIV prevalence. And in these countries, we've seen a failure to control tuberculosis.
When one is diagnosed with TB, most of people actually think that's the end of life, because there's a lot of stigma associated with TB, and they have seen some of their family members who had TB, and they think this is the end of it. One thing I would tell the public is that TB is curable, and once they're diagnosed with TB, they need to follow the instructions given by the doctors or nurses. One being that they need to complete the 6 months of treatment, at least 6 months of treatment, and be taking the medication every day. And there are certain habits that one should actually refrain from. For those who smoke, the best would be to stop smoking. Then in terms of nutritional support, these patients need to be on a high protein diet so that their health can improve.
The biggest problem is we are relying on sputum, which not everyone produces. We are relying on the microscopy, which is not very sensitive to confirm the diagnosis. We rely on the chest X-ray, which is only found in health institutions of a certain level, not at every health institution. So a game changer in TB would be a diagnostic test, which won't rely so much on sputum.
The bacteria that causes tuberculosis is a difficult bacteria to treat and even to diagnose it. Treatment, you may be aware that treatment takes 6 months to 9 months, and people with tuberculosis have to take various drugs, a mixture of drugs, at least up to 4 different drugs to treat tuberculosis. It is a problem. Really, TB is a problem, is a disease of poverty. And so in poor countries with, very poor people with undernutrition and living in poor conditions with poor ventilation, tuberculosis thrives in that.
Up to today, tuberculosis remains the major cause of mortality, the major cause of morbidity. One of the reasons being is that there are certain measures that we haven't been instituting. One of them is health-seeking behavior. The health-seeking behavior of our population is quite concerning and is actually contributed to while we have a huge burden of tuberculosis. Also, not to forget that we have a huge burden of HIV.
As Ministry of Health, we are now embarking on buying sensitive tools, introducing more sensitive tools, for example, the GeneXpert, which will give us results within 2 hours. It is very sensitive. It can detect TB even in those that are sputum negative. It can detect TB. So if we have that, we open up the test to all the provinces. We want it to be in each facility if possible. But for now, we've targeted the provincial hospitals, and some of the hotspots in the provinces will have the machine.
We provide support to 4 provinces within Zambia, and we work closely with the National TB Program in Zambia, specifically looking at TB in HIV positive people with the aim to reduce the burden of TB. Earlier on, I did mention that HIV fuels the problem of TB. So, in simple terms, that means that people with HIV are at increased risk for tuberculosis. So we focus on that population of people within the HIV program service support that we give. And a lot of our activities are focused around supporting diagnosis for TB, supporting activities that improve case finding of TB so that these people with TB are found early and put on treatment. We also do some work in prisons. At the moment, we work in Lusaka Central Prison, and we also support Livingstone Prison. We also have some research studies that we do. We do have a TB vaccine trial that we're doing in Kalingalinga, and this is really a vaccine that we're trying out. It's a multi-center study in various countries. Zambia is not the only one, and even in Zambia there are 2 sites for that study trying out a vaccine for TB.
When is the trial expected to come to an end?
So this trial is expected to come to an end in October 2018. And I think I needed to mention that this is sponsored by GSK and ARAS. Those are our collaborators on the trial. So if this trial finds that this vaccine is successful, it's a phase 2B trial, it will mean that the trial will go on to a phase 3 trial. A phase 3 trial basically means to a bigger study, doing it in a larger population, much larger population.
All these stakeholders that are part of the network are sensitized and trained in order for them to train also caregivers and treatment supporters who we send in the communities to do community social mobilization. And through community social mobilization, we are able to identify TB patients who are on treatment. We provide monitoring, especially those who are sputum positive TB, because they are the ones who have got the type of TB that is infectious. Then we also train treatment supporters, and once we train treatment supporters, they do undertake outreach programs in the communities. A long time ago, we used to face some some denial. People on TB were trying to deny because of the linkage of tuberculosis to HIV and AIDS. But now, people are now breaking up because they know for sure that tuberculosis is no doubt curable. And once the TB patients who have been commenced on TB treatment gets cured, other people in the community are able to see that that one suffered from TB and this time is up and running. So now that's an encouragement to other people to come forth and seek treatment whenever they feel they have tuberculosis. For the program, TB program, to be carried out effectively, we must have the logistics to cater for people that are on treatment so that we encourage them to be taking the medication. Because some other challenge again which we face is that when some people in the TB in the communities are able to mislead the TB patients to say you cannot take your medication without eating. Now that's a very big challenge because we are not there always when the patients are taking medication. So when they deceive those people to say, have you taken medicine? No, because I've not eaten. Sometimes those are the things that we found in the communities. You are monitoring a TB patient to find out whether they've taken their medication, but what they're going to tell you is that I can't take my medicine, I take my medicine after eating, which is not the case because the medicine for TB must be taken in an empty stomach very early in the morning at the chosen time so that the medicine works effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, any cough can be a potential, can be due to tuberculosis. So what one should do, especially those with cough lasting 2 weeks or longer and associated with sputum or streaks of blood, should actually check in with the hospital and have that cough be evaluated because that cough may actually be due to tuberculosis.
So let's say someone had a pulmonary TB, which is common. Most of these patients will be attending either a local clinic or a private clinic and are prescribed all sorts of antibiotics. Okay, but then because that's not a correct treatment for TB, as long as it's not treated, they'll be spreading the germ in the community. And remember, people won't show with TB immediately. Most of them are going to contain the disease for the time being, but later on it's going to come out. So the numbers are always there, okay, below the water, so to say. Then at individual level, the more time taken between actual clinical TB and diagnosis, the more the damage to the organ systems. Okay, people could have damage to their lungs. The TB disease can spread to other organs, commonly the heart and the brain, causing either TB pericarditis for the heart and causing a meningitis. It could spread to the abdomen and cause abdominal organ TB. So the earlier the diagnosis is made, the better, so that the patient is not only cured, but the patient also stops spreading the disease, which is very critical.
One of the factors that lead to us losing patients from TB is late presentation. Even in UTH here, most of the patients who are dying from TB are dying because of late presentation. By the time we are diagnosing TB, it has actually disseminated to most parts of the body. The brain, being the brain, the heart, the liver, the kidneys, and generally the whole body. And the reason why actually patients are actually dying is because of disseminated TB. So the complications that arise from this disseminated, if the TB goes to the brain, they develop what we call TB meningitis. That's tuberculosis meningitis. So this is an infection actually TB that's affecting the brain. And from that you find that their conscious levels become impaired. They start convulsing, and it also affects other body systems, metabolism, like the electrolytes and the like.
One of it is funeral gatherings. We find that in a funeral gathering, people will be there packed in a small room where they might be a TB patient who is sputum positive. It means that by the time the people will be getting out of that particular house, many of them would have inhaled the TB bacilli. And then they will just a matter of time, when the immunity goes down, then the TB will show. And then the other thing is that in Zambia, the way the public transport system is fashioned, you know that ladies, when they are staying, when they are sitting in a public transport next to the window, they wouldn't open the windows because they don't want their air to be messed up. So they will continue, keeping that window shut. And if you imagine, if in a minibus that is carrying maybe 36 people, there are maybe 3 people sputum positive TB, and you have closed the windows and everything. By the time you come out of that minibus, it's chaos. You will have the TB bacilli.
Ine TB yanga sinakosomolepo vane wakamba ati every time muntu akosomola ine ninali kusebenza ntchito zitazenze hard zokosa but inabwa yafika time namba kukangiwa kusebenza ntchito saidha nikanyamula manzi kailise muno ndikutapa manzi so nzoshani katapa manzi immediately natula ya mgomo o container nizamba upema shika vija then tu nikagona usiku kulishiwe cha meti machoka chabe then ile nizonana nganichovala cha ninavala nganagona na t-shirt izankala ya nana so pali one time naenda ku clinic kuja napeleka mwana napeza ma TB treatment supporter TB kona baponzisa pa TB mameno ngatengere ma sign and symptoms ya TB so ine hapo sina taking action ninabwerera kunyumba na nkala I think for 2 weeks then ninabwerera back naona futi ya chiramu sinivera bwino so naenda ku TB kona kuli ba sister Chinungwe then naendo bawuza kuti aba sister ine sinivera bwino nimvera zishancho zamene nzosebenza namba kukangiwa nikagona usiku nimvera chile nisweating ono nagona na chovala china obakamba kaguleni ka buku so ine naendo gula buku kuja pamene ngula buku nabwera obanza endani wakulembeleni muchite x-ray so ndiye mwamene wana nembera wa doctor nachita x-ray pani nachita x-ray paja anabwa nipeza uku kuli ho right hand side kunali chimbo chikulu apa so banilangiza kuti imwe apa manje ni chani ni TB Nkwala uyudi na ma side effect ngati sindu okosa ungaleke but ngati ufuna upola uzakoseresapo kutuchite bwanji upole so kuja wanani punzisa to waya manje imwe mwapesikana TB so pani mwapesikana TB manje mzamba Nkwala so banifunsa time mzamba kuma tawo bwanji nenawaza kuti mzamba kuma na 6 hours from 6 hours paka 30 minutes ndipo ni majava kuja baniuza vonse ma instructions kuja ndiye mamena ambira Mankwala in fact mendo yanabwa yambo baba ngati ni block so ukafuna nyamula waleka kuyenda so paja nikamvera vija nabwerera kliniki na bachitira explain ma sister mverani vamene mvera bakamba ten kuli ba doctor naenda kuli ba doctor wanipasa Mankwala so chabe paka napitiriza
also delays in the diagnosis and then the facilities themselves. With some colleagues from London University some years back, we tried to replace one of the TB antibiotics to try and see whether we could shorten the treatment period. Unfortunately, the results were disappointing. We were looking at shortening the period to about 4 months, which should have been a leap in terms of TB. There is also, you might be aware of a form of TB which is drug resistant. We call it mild drug resistant TB. Again, the challenge there is patients are on highly toxic drugs, and they take these drugs for up to 2 years, and they have to be in contact with the health system for that kind of period. So WHO, I'm aware, is in the process of recommending a shorter regimen, which has been tried in West Africa. And so it's likely that we are going to have a shorter regimen in terms of MDR, but we are still very far. So those will be our next areas of research. So personal hygiene, awareness of the fact that you could catch the disease merely by being close to someone who has tuberculosis and who's not on treatment. But you should also think about some situations which are very difficult to control. For instance, the minibus. I refer to that because there was a modeling, mathematical modeling for TB transmission in Cape Town, and one of the things they found was the minibuses were actually responsible for most of the transmission of TB in that part of the world. So for someone who has TB, good cough hygiene. When people are coughing, they should cover themselves.
Then the other ways is that patients with tuberculosis, not per se segregated, but they should be in a room which is well ventilated, and perhaps for the period of 1 to 2 weeks after starting treatment, from the point of diagnosis and starting treatment, they can be in a separate bedroom. And during the day, they can be spending time in an outdoor setting so that other household members are not highly predisposed to the bacteria. I'll tell you this, that in a room occupied by a TB patient remains infectious when he coughs, when he or she coughs, remains infectious for at least 30 minutes to an hour.
bali abakwata okutiina bali abakwata stigma peshi bakuba ti kintu nga kyayisa tefo tufe tuwapone na mofya pamulandu wakwe bati stigma muntu wafu iliyo nshita yobetaira kona wasanga washana abana bobe ama street kid
ababale n'omuti bafire 1 bashita stick ku medication. Adherence is very important. Take the drug at the correct time, eat balanced diet food. Then 3 ngabakwata ayo ama sign and symptoms because TB shiro mu apsana tepa kukola fe tepa kuswetinga. So aba bantu abakwata ayo ama signs bafire bafye ku TB kona bali abaka kusukwa.
TB is a disease which is curable first, and if people, if someone has the following symptoms: a cough, sweating, especially at night, which we refer to as night sweats, weight loss, okay, and just general feeling of weakness, general body malaise, they better get to their healthcare facility, either in public or in private facilities, so that they're screened for TB.
It's not always that TB presents in a classical manner of fever, cough, chest pains. There are times patients just have no symptoms at all, but one of them being chronic fatigue. We find that even with minimum exertion, they get tired. So one of the things that I would advise is that I'll still go back to my earlier emphasis, that whenever you have been in contact with a TB patient, get screened.
Azi.
Well, that's all we had for you in today's edition of News in Depth. We were looking at tuberculosis, an infectious disease that mainly affects the lungs. Thank you for watching. Join us next week with another program. From me, Effie Mpande, my camera operator Henry Chama, and the rest of the team, it's goodbye and God bless.